Hey everyone, Stock Picks by Tim here, and I hope you're as ready for the weekend to be over as I am. Sometimes these weekends just drag on, and it gives you a chance though to kind of focus on something else, get your mind out of stocks for a second. I think I have a problem. But today we're going to get into 5 stocks that I think are worthy of watching and one potential short if the conditions are met. Now, first off, we have Astra, and they're actually going to be, they actually pushed out their earnings. It is going to be on March 31, so keep an eye on that. But the day that this had its successful launch, we only went up like 3 to 5%, and everything else was up, around 10% or so. Like SoFi was up crazy. A lot of the kind of smaller caps, growth stocks, kind of in the same category as Astra, a lot of those outperformed. And then now Astra is on a nice run, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But just remember to mark down March 31 on your calendar and stay tuned for their earnings. And this is confirmed on their investor relation tab on their actual site, on Astra's site. All right, now looking at Astra on the chart, you will see that now we are officially on an uptrend. Now we did find a little bit of resistance here at 475, so I want to see us break that to move higher. But I think it's very, very likely that they do break this and keep moving higher, especially if the overall market gives it a little bit of room to wiggle. But that's Astra. I am holding my position more long term, but you could definitely get into this on a swing trade if we break that resistance here, that 475. You could potentially set a stop loss and just ride it as a swing trade, ride that momentum, get in and get out. But I'm just going to be, I'm just planning to long term hold. And hopefully I'll still be talking about Astra in 2024, and they're having successful launches much more often. Alright, now I'm not going to get too much into Volta. I just wanted to mention to you guys that their earnings is coming on Monday, and this one actually sold off on Friday when a lot of the small cap growth stocks just rallied. So I think this is a great time to add in, although if you don't want to take the risk of earnings possibly not going as planned, then wait until after earnings. There is an opportunity cost to that potentially. You might miss a little bit of a run up if earnings goes great, but you're also mitigating that risk of what if earnings doesn't go good. So if you're not willing to take that risk, I would wait until after earnings. I have a position and I'm pretty much just averaging through. I see this as a better deal right now than ChargePoint, but I do want to see what their earnings is going to be. And make sure you stick around because I will be giving you guys a cut up key points of their earnings tomorrow after hours. Okay, now next up is Valence Semiconductor, and I am in this play now. I was adding to this one. We have this nice double bottom here. Now, when you look at earnings, it seems not that great, but it is still, revenue has still steadily increased, so that's great news. Although their EPS missed, not too worried about that. This is still a very early stock, and they gave okay guidance. I don't think the guidance was all that amazing. They basically gave full year guidance of 2022 at about 85 million. So that signifies that, each quarter is going to be a little over 20 million, but relatively flat, if not a slight increase. But I do think that they sandbagged those numbers, meaning they underpromised and hopefully they will overdeliver. They mainly cited supply problems and, they did say that they're very confident. They gave that number, they gave their future guidance, and they are very confident in that. They wanted to give something that they can definitely exceed. So I'm feeling great about Valence. Like this stock. I got in and out, but now I am back in. Now, once this debuted, we hit this like 630 level, and we are hovering at it now. I think there's a great time to add into Valence. And, you probably got to be a little long term with this one. Of course, it's going to move with the market, but there's it's going to be a waiting game for Valence. I think this is definitely worthy of holding for the long term though. They're in a growing industry in the chip sector, and yeah, as you guys know, I'm very bullish on semiconductor stocks, very bullish on Bitcoin miners. But I'm going to get into another one that I absolutely love, and many of you know which one I'm about to talk about, but definitely put Valence Semiconductor on your radar. And I'm going to talk about Indie Semiconductor. Are you guys surprised? It is my highest conviction semiconductor play, and I did get into this one after the SPAC, after it merged as a SPAC. It of course had that typical SPAC sell-off. We started getting that tightening volatility, that volatility contraction pattern, VCP, and then we just started blasting off. And since this little run up from about 850, we went all the way up to 16, a little over 16, and since then we just couldn't top it. We attempted to break that, we couldn't do it, and then we just sold off. You got a lot of red volume coming in, just a nervous sell-off, and this has been downtrending, of course, with the market overall, and just hit a double bottom here right around like 650. We neared there again, hit it again, and bounced, and now we're on a nice little uptrend. I absolutely love Indie. It is a little concerning that we have a bit of a selling volume here at the end of the day, but keep an eye on Indie. We are still in this trend. We are still respecting this upward trend, and I absolutely love the potential of this company over the next 5 years. Okay. And I'm curious if you guys can find a better executive team, at least in terms of experience and it doesn't matter if it's in the semiconductor space, but let me know in the comments below if there's any stock that you just have an extreme amount of confidence in the executive team. You know, for me, Indy tops that list. Indy is my highest conviction semiconductor stock. In terms of the executive team, they have a lot of experience together. Most of them have actually worked more than 20 years together at previous companies like Axiom, at, you know, Broadcom, Cirrus Logic. They have a lot of experience. So this is one that I'm extremely bullish on. I love Indy Semiconductor, and I think while it's under $10, it's very worthy of averaging in. All right, now as for a potential short, I wouldn't necessarily short this right now where it stands. I want to see it push a little higher and then find this resistance, this like $28 level, and start pulling back. And if we can start pulling back, then I think it's worthy of a quick short in and out, buy a put, and let it run down to roughly where we're at, a little bit higher than where we're at, because we are right here at a bit of a resistance. We are trying to hold it as a support, but you'll see that it was a support previously. We need to break this for it to become a support. We were trying to hold it as a support. But once we start breaking out, push this resistance level right here, like 28.70, 28.90, almost 29. If we top out there and start pushing down, I think it's worthy of a short. Now, one thing to think about is, yes, this has ran down quite a lot from its highs of, you know, nearly $60. And this was the Super Bowl hype. If you guys remember, this was the Super Bowl hype. Everyone was saying it was going to 100. And that was when it was time to turn around. You know, I got out of this one. I didn't hit the top, but I got out pretty, you know, pretty up there. I'm not complaining with, you know, the money I made off of Lucid. But now I've swing traded this one a couple times now, if you guys are aware. I don't think I've even mentioned this time during the Super Bowl and the huge run up. I did have it back here, but I've gotten out, and then I got back in. I'm trying to remember where I got back in. If I got back in somewhere, just kind of scalped it, made a quick profit, got in and got out. I think when it ran up to like the 30s. Yeah, I think it was actually right around, I probably bought right around here and then sold into the strength like at 30 something. It didn't get the top, but that's not the name of the game. You know, you're going to pull all your hair out trying to time the bottom perfectly and the top. The main point is making a profit, and it's that. If that's what you're doing, then great. But I wouldn't want, I'm not extremely bullish on Lucid. When you think about the valuation, and they really missed their revenue. They hit like 20 something million and it was expected 50 million. You know, you're talking about a company with a $37 billion market cap and the revenue was less than 50 million. I'm not extremely bullish on that. Yes, they have a huge growth potential ahead of them, but one negative thing to think about is they are likely going to have to raise prices of their cars as we have more issues with it. You know, increasing cost of parts. And that was actually in an article. I'll leave you guys the link below. I don't really want to go over that right now, but that's something to be aware of. They're likely going to raise their prices on their cars, and their cars are already relatively expensive. I mean, it's kind of a niche market. Yeah, there's people that are going to buy that instead of like a Mercedes or instead of, you know, Model S, but to me, I don't really see it with Lucid. I really don't. I mean, you look at the cash, they got $6 billion in cash, a third of that in debt. That's not horrible, but when you're talking about a market cap this large, I don't know. I'm not very bullish. If I could see it come up towards that resistance, like I said, that like 28 level, if we attempt a breakout but don't get it, that's when I think it's worthy of short. I don't think it's worthy of a short at its current price. That's kind of risky, I think. But if this thing runs up a little bit, I would be likely to short this. And that, for me, that's just my hedge. You know, I don't typically like to short things too often. I did mention Cleveland Cliffs in a previous video just because that ran up so much. I'd actually prefer to buy a put on this rather than Cleveland Cliffs. I think the risk level, you know, it's definitely risky. This can run, you know, it doesn't have to make sense. Just like when this was at like a $60 billion market cap, you know, the market doesn't have to make sense at all times. So that's one thing to consider. You know, if we do get into a euphoric run and everything runs up, it's very possible that Lucid runs up as well. So that's one thing to, you know, be aware of. But to me, this is a perfect hedge because I am pretty heavy in, you know, growth stocks and risky tech stuff, you know. So for me, I think Lucid is a great short. And I think, honestly, if the market starts running back, Lucid will underperform the market in terms of if the market starts dropping, Lucid will probably drop more than, you know, if you were to short the NASDAQ or something like that. But that's basically my thoughts. What are you guys looking at as a good put? Leave it in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. I put out daily videos. And until next time, take it easy.